Alright, so today's video is called I Solved the Stewie Griffin Paradox. This video was created by the Theorizer, and if you don't know who the Theorizer is, he's a YouTuber that comes up with these crazy conspiracies. Like he had one about the Lorax. He basically stated that the Lorax was somehow Aloysius O'Hare, and after watching that video, he had me kind of convinced. So today, we're going to be talking about Stewie Griffin and the craziness that goes on with Stewie Griffin.
Why is Stewie Griffin so smart? Stewie's not supposed to exist. Literally, he's a walking, talking space-time anomaly.
Stewie Griffin is so smart, just based off of his physical attributes. I mean, the dude's head is bigger than the rest of his body. The dude knows quantum physics. He can travel back in time to stop the invasion of Poland. I mean, is that something a 2-year-old baby should know how to do? Who knows?
Family Guy has an episode nobody ever talks about that kind of secretly answered all of the questions in the show. Why Stewie is smart, why Peter is dumb, why Brian can talk, why other babies act like adults, the true nature of flashbacks, and maybe even who Rupert truly is.
This one right here, I want to know so bad. How is this guy going to explain to me who Rupert is, other than just Stewie Griffin's sidekick?
And right here, right now, you'll get answers and so much more.
Dude, just wait. This dude is gonna break this down, and even you'll believe
I'm
it.
the Theorizer, and before we connect the dots, let's recall the episode I'm actually talking about. For those that don't remember, Season 9, Episode 16 of Family Guy, Stewie and Brian mess around with their time machine and end up accidentally warping outside of time and space itself. They're basically floating within an endless white void.
I remember this episode.
Laws of physics and do anything with their minds, but they don't want to stay there, so they manage to overload Stewie's return pad and blast themselves back into the universe. After fixing his stuff, Stewie...
Oh wait, this is the episode where he kept sending himself to alternate universes, right? Like they had that one Disney parallel universe where somebody baked a pie. I think it was Peter.
discovers that the explosion imprint matches identically to the cosmic background of the entire universe, meaning their explosion was
The Big Bang? Okay.
Big Bang. When Stewie overloaded his return pad in an empty void, it triggered the entire blast of space-time that created the universe itself. In other words, they traveled back to before the universe, blew it up, and Stewie is canonically the real god of the Family Guy world.
Okay.
To hammer this point home, the remainder of the episode shows the extent of this impact. You see, Stewie's half-brother nemesis Bertram discovers Stewie's machine and manages to trace their genetics back to a specific ancestor that led to Stewie being born, but not Bertram.
I couldn't stand Bertram. Bertram was so annoying. He was the one trying to fight Stewie, right, to get pregnant. They had that one episode where Stewie and Bertram had that all-out feud to get to the womb. That was like one of the younger seasons, like probably season 2 or 3. But dude, Bertram got on my nerves.
Bertram's plan is to kill this ancestor before they can produce the offspring that led down to Stewie. This ancestor happens to be Leonardo da Vinci himself. So Bertram enters the machine and goes back to kill him. As you might expect, their entire present reality starts eroding into an abyss of destruction, because if Stewie were never born in the first place,
the
then
world
he'd
would
never
collapse.
have been able
Gotcha.
to create the universe like he did earlier in the episode. They rush into the machine and go to stop Bertram, but Da Vinci still dies in the process, and yet everything still exists. Stewie can only guess that because they're still in the past, he must be about to do something else, something here. He must do something that preserves it somehow. And his brilliant idea? He sends Brian back to the present, then extracts his own DNA and sticks it in Da Vinci's girlfriend so that his own genes ensure the survival of his own genes. Like a
This
paradox.
dude's a
Then,
freaking
to get back to
beast.
the present, he creates a cryogenic freezing chamber, locks himself inside, instructs people to ship it on a boat to America and bury it deep underground at specific coordinates, while instructing the Vatican to hold on to a letter from him for 500 years before delivering it to modern-day Quahog.
See, this is how these usually start. You're starting to think, yo, this guy is just talking, because that's how I'm thinking right now. This guy is just talking and putting all this craziness into the air, but just wait. It's all gonna come together.
At the exact time where, in the present, Brian then receives it. He sees the coordinates are underneath their basement and digs up the buried pod which has had a frozen Stewie suspended beneath their house for 5 centuries inside. Happy ending. And I believe this one episode directly gives individual answers to each and every single mystery in the show. People, I present the Griffin Paradox.
Is it the Griffin Paradox? Oh, okay. Stewie Griffin Paradox. But yeah, he's also going to explain. Like, Peter's dumb, I think, because he's just an alcoholic. Brian can talk. Who really even knows why? Well, this guy does. This guy does, I guess.
Stewie Griffin has a history of being smart, evil, British, and weirdly experienced in the world. I have come to the conclusion that the Family Guy universe is trying to bend things and shape itself so that it ensures Stewie's existence in order to ensure its own, as his machinery is its source and true nature. Stewie's machine.
Well, so what I'm hearing is that we're breaking down the fourth wall. This isn't just applying to Stewie. Now it's actually applying to the show itself. Yeah, this dude's just talking.
And time.
Right now, this dude's just talking.
The blueprint for space itself and time itself, as it was the Big Bang. What's more is that Stewie and Brian's consciousness briefly existed before reality did and serve as the universe's blueprint for consciousness, hence them blasting through it. This is why Brian, in particular, ended up being born as such an intelligent dog. Stewie is such an intelligent baby, and these two are the main characters of their show and universe. Simply put, Stewie is smart because the universe manipulated probabilities to make it fulfill the paradox of its own existence.
Which means it's Stewie then. If it's the universe that can manipulate it, didn't Stewie create the universe, so therefore it's Stewie who equals the universe?
It's going to happen to ensure it. Something will always happen. Everything points in favor of Stewie. This is not luck or plot armor, but fate. This ripples out.
Fate that he created.
Leading Stewie to descend from one of the most intelligent minds in history, Leonardo da Vinci, who also looks just like him for clear reasons. In a sense, this is Stewie. The whole reason the universe didn't let Stewie disappear when Da Vinci died is because Stewie writes reality by being his own progenitor.
Okay, so he's God then.
Just a paradox of the universe, but also of his own bloodline, which was orchestrated to such a...
Could you imagine having that kind of power to be able to bend the universe at your will? That's such a this is such a crazy concept, and at first I thought he was just talking, but now that he's kind of explaining it, it's really starting to come together. It's crazy.
Specific degree that it allowed him to be his own ancestor, filling gaps and fulfilling the necessary circumstances that let him become the most intelligent, aware baby ever, even in the womb. With this blueprint in mind, I believe most of Stewie's flashbacks are actually flashes to other detailed lives, placeholders where he has existed in one form or another, and this was built to keep him alive in the event that the main Stewie died or was erased. Stewie is essentially having flashbacks to actual previous lives. We know this is probable because he and other sperm are conscious, knowing full well of the details of Earth. This is all why Stewie's genetic paradox and universal paradox take place in the same episode.
Could you imagine like Seth MacFarlane's at home watching this video and he's like, oh my gosh, this guy's got it. He understood everything. And I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids.
The same thing. He is evil and hates Lois because she birthed him into a stupid family, albeit a necessary one, and he was painfully conscious of every waking moment from before he was even conceived. His intelligence is so high because others in his family were programmed as stupid to make room for him, explaining Peter's IQ being removed and placed in Stewie. This is why Peter and Extension Chris are so dumb. When I said this explains the show, I meant it. Now, this isn't just one episode either. It reflects over to another, very similar episode in Season 12 that explains his British behavior. Stewie is mad at his stupid family, so he time travels back and tries to break up Lois and Peter just before they could conceive him. His soul is immediately reborn into a very smart British family that works with powerful scientists. It wouldn't let him be undone, not truly.
But wait, that makes no sense then, because hold on, with insemination, don't you have to come from your father's balls? So, I mean, if he came from Peter, how on earth could he be reborn into a different family unless Peter is not actually Lois's Or Stewie is not actually Lois's. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think here. I'm so confused right now.
This is why it let him go back in the other episode too without erasing him. The universe needs him. It's like the rules of time bend to his will because they do. In the therapy episode, he reveals he's not even truly British, he just idolizes it, and his rebirth cements that. The universe needs him. His accent is tied to his soul. With all this talk of Stewie,
his accent is tied to his soul. That's crazy.
Where his British fanaticism enters and exits this time loop, and that answer, I believe, is found in his soulmate. It would appear Stewie and the universe have been trying to ensure some future legacy, perhaps in the form of the actual God character. Let me begin with his neighbor. Susie Swanson is the infant daughter of Joe and Bonnie. You'll recall Bonnie being pregnant with her for like 7 years. Throughout the show, after she's born, we occasionally hear her inner thoughts.
Doesn't she sounds like Patrick Bateman, right?
She is voiced by Patrick Stewart.
Oh, Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. Yes, inside of her head. We hear her inner monologue saying, "This is Patrick Stewart. How are you enjoying the program so far?" This happens many times.
That was actually pretty good.
Show. He says various things in her head, and she was born with a wheelchair. I was about to say she's Professor X or something, but no. Stewie's actually met Patrick Stewart himself in another episode shortly after Susie's birth. He transported the entire...
What's next? Are you going to say that Patrick Stewart in Family Guy is actually Stan Smith's boss in American Dad? Whoa! Nah, no way, no way. Now you're
Star Trek.
Now you're breaking down the fourth wall.
I'm not sure yet what this Patrick Stewart has to do with Susie exactly, but I think it's all tied in because of how close together it all is, and more importantly, it sent me even further down this rabbit hole of baby girls, possibly even in the area of Susie's delayed birth. His relationship with Susie is one of love at first, but she doesn't like him. If the world is trying to orchestrate soulmates to orchestrate his destiny, then we need to look further. In Season 3, a bunch of British people come to town and Stewie befriends a little Cockney girl and tries teaching her to be posh and polite, eventually succeeding. The result,
wasn't this episode made off of My Fair Lady with Audrey Hepburn?
However, is that she becomes angry and hateful and evil like he is, and seeks to also kill Lois after she blames her for the hanging of her father. We never see her again despite this plot thread being left wide open on purpose, but he basically taught her his ways like a spreading virus, and I believe we might have something of an answer to this in the episode where Stewie's soulmate meddling comes full
she
circle.
was crazy.
The one, the only,
right?
Penelope.
She was like a sociopath.
Is one of my favorite guest characters on the entire show, and she also goes by Mrs. Stewie. She has appeared only once, is voiced by Cate Blanchett, and has made a huge impact because she is Stewie's one true match. She is an extremely vicious, extremely intelligent, malevolent baby from England that moved to Quahog in Season 10 seemingly out of nowhere. She doesn't seem to have any parents, but she said she beheaded her own mother. She seems to have taken charge of her own life with no adults around and achieved things Stewie can only dream of. They fall deeply in love and their connection persists even past the end of the episode when they part on conflicting terms.
So what I'm hearing so far is that Stewie Griffin created the universe. He has been able to manipulate time itself to create specific people so that his lineage, so the lineage of him falls down specifically to a specific set of people, which are Lois and Peter. He is then born, and he's trying to find a soulmate that would be perfect for him to continue his heritage or his lineage?
It's because she was desperately trying to kill Brian, who she saw standing in the way for, well, so many reasons. I bring her up because she is the perfect antithesis to Stewie, the universe's attempt at creating a perfect foil, a female Stewie parody, so much so that I seriously think she could, in some way, be Eliza. But I still have very little evidence for all this. It's just that it's important to mention because it's all in line with the structure of the show and may give insight into Stewie's single biggest lingering mystery, his companion Rupert.
Here we go.
So you may think Stewie's true soulmate is his imaginary friend Rupert.
And the freaking bear doesn't talk, so how does he understand his conversation?
But that's not necessarily the case. Rupert is an imaginary friend, not a real person.
Dude, we outside are like the Griffin family when Stewie talks. Nobody understands Stewie when he talks. Us outside, we can understand Stewie, but we can't understand Rupert, while Stewie can understand Rupert. See, I'm coming up with my own paradoxes now.
Primarily use Rupert as kind of a mechanism to serve the running gag kind of mystery of whether Stewie's gay or not, while in the main plot he's been with women, you know, aside from Brian impregnating him, which is, I'm not even going to, no, that disturbingly could be connected to all this. I don't even want to think about it. However,
Destroy
Rupert
the
is
evidence.
nonetheless more important than all these people, despite not being seen nearly as much lately, because he serves as Stewie's reflection. It's not just an imaginary friend. I strongly believe Rupert is God, not the caricature for cutaways per se, but the real deal. He is the entire
real deal, the big cheese.
Versus subconscious from Stewie. All lives condensed into one to give Stewie advice and information from his deeper self so he can grow as a person. This is the universe's direct hotline to Stewie.
Dude.
And Stewie's own subconscious. All the same thing. This is the role of real imaginary friends too, subconscious teaching. The only thing is, remember, Stewie's subconscious is the universe. Thus Rupert is God. In short, Stewie is smart because he created the universe and his
here we
own
go.
genetic bloodline, paradoxically ensuring it on purpose and accidentally. This is also why Brian can talk, Peter is dumb, and the flashbacks are so prevalent. They are the universe asserting itself. To communicate back to himself and fulfill his destiny, Stewie and the universe have tried engineering soulmates that include Eliza, Penelope, and possibly Susie Swanson, with Rupert being the divine imprint communicating back through Stewie's subconscious to direct him towards his fate as ruler of the world. Now we just have to solve the other worlds. So subscribe. There will be more.
Dude.
Join the Patreon for
Another great video. I love the Theorizer, man. I'm gonna watch out for more of this guy's stuff.